So, welcome back to Tales Tomorrow. I am Morrow, your storyteller for today, and with me I have some more RPG horror stories. Some of them are honestly rather disturbing and I'm scared to read them. But you know what? We're doing them together. Let's go ahead and get into the video. Was supposed to start a new game, but the DM turned out to be too sexist. Is there such thing as too sexist? I mean, I think if somebody's sexist, then it's sexist enough, but I mean, is there such thing as too sexist? Everything was going fine. I had started making a character and was talking to him about the world when he told me about his home rule. Female characters got a -2 to strength and +1 to dex. Not only that, our HP increase after leveling up used some of strength and con score, and he also implied that he would use athletics checks a lot more than most DMs do, and not allow acrobatics if it didn't make sense to him. I didn't really want to argue, so I just said the game wasn't for me and left the group. I mean, I'm glad you did, but like, what? It seems like the DM is putting in some sort of other IRL biases into the game for whatever reason, or maybe the DM just really hates women, and I don't understand why. I mean, the only thing I can think of is like, maybe the DM just wants to see a bunch of buff dudes do buff dude stuff, which I mean, hey, that ain't wrong. If you want to see a bunch of buff men doing buff men things, go for it. That's completely fine, but why are you penalizing a player for wanting to make a female character in such a drastic way? Also, why are you nerfing their health level up in such a way? What's the point of this? But even if the DM is coming in with a weird personal bias, why would you want to nerf people from being able to create female characters? I mean, I guess it doesn't matter if, let's say, for example, you build like a caster and stuff, but like, why? What's the point? Why make everything an athletics roll? What, are you gonna do an athletics roll just to get out of the chair, just to climb a set of stairs? You're gonna roll athletics roll? Wow, that sounds like a really fun game. Hey, I want to climb up the stairs, DM, roll athletics. I want to sit in a chair, roll athletics. I want to take 2 steps to the general store, roll athletics. I want to open the door, roll athletics. Man, that sounds like a really fun game, but every single action that you do needs to be on athletic basis. I want to sneeze, DM, roll athletics. And you OP, basically, I think you just dodged the bullet here, which is perfectly fine. You'll find way better games out there with a lot less restrictions than this. Player gets the equivalent of tomfoolery charges and is subtly booted from D&D. So I'm a long-time DM. I've usually about 2 to 3 long-time running campaigns going at a time, one of which has so far lasted almost 3 years at this point, which is amazing. I've had players come in and out of course over time, and I have had the current party for about a solid year and a half, and 2 out of 4 players have been in it since the beginning. Again, amazing. One such player who's gotten kicked, or I'll not be naming, but instead be given the name FB, Lightly Bastard, because both the player and the character were, well, lightly bastards. I don't know why, but when I saw Flightly Bastard, I just want to give it like a southern Flightly Bastard. I don't know why, I'm sorry. I might just call the character just Bastard. Immediately when they join in, it's, I want to be young, super strong paladin, 13 to 14-year-old Leonin, and the player started at level 5 for the campaign. I suggest they age up their characters since this campaign features sexual situations, very grisly dark details of death, possession of viscera, takeover of people and animal bodies, heavily deep religious tones, as well as drug and alcohol usage. The rest of the party were in the middle age or older for the campaign as well, to make it fit in better as to how and why they were already level 5. How a couple of them owned shops of housing, or how they managed to travel for the jobs they came to town for, to better fit them into the completely fleshed out homebrew that's been built. Okay, alright, so we're going for a mature setting for the D&D world. That's a bit of a new thing for us, but hey, listen, I'm cool with that. Let's go ahead and keep on reading. Player throws a fit about it, but eventually agrees for the bare minimum of 16 or 17. I never got clarification on which. In which, because they're a forge paladin, they're immediately on and on about flexing, showing off their muscle and skill, trying to say they know better than level 14 NPCs they're supposed to be apprenticing under. Red flag number 1 and 2 are already up. Bastard tries to flirt with a barmaid in a campaign who was already dating the lich that lived nearby that protected the town from larger threats, important for later. I was also serving under the same goddess as them, but as a level 20 beer domain cleric from the Kobold Press book Deep Magic. When that fails, they try to incessantly flirt with her before moving on to another NPC in the bar, which was the lich in disguise. They tried to outdrink one another and the player crit failed a con save, a homebrew ruling that could happen. and try to play it off as if they didn't. Red flags 3, 4, and 5. Because after they failed, they simply had their character pass out to sleep it off, and ignored the rest of the campaign and the going-ons nearly that entire session. I had them rolling con saves to see if they'd wake up hungover, wake up, or just stay asleep a while longer. They had their character sleep for 4 hours, and I could swear they were fudging rolls, because the few times I asked them what their roll was, they would fumble and say 2 different numbers, then stick with the lowest, even though I didn't have them at disadvantage. By the time Bastard had waken up, the other players had returned to the bar to try and get him up and moving for an important quest, which was to travel to another town. This traveling actually took multiple sessions, and the players decided to skip every single one of the travel sessions and join back up only once everyone was in the other town. Now, to preface what happens next with some context, the gods, goddesses, and deities are all very alive and very much present in the realm. Not all of them are on the same continent. One, however, the goddess of hearth and home and forge and beer, some of these are based off the old D&D lore from 2nd, 3rd, and 4th edition, and a homebrew to fit the 5th edition, lived nearby. She lived in a town they had traveled to and had a very large temple as well as a large working forge, shop, and enchantment area set up. She worked, and the main archpriest in the town under her name taught her religion and helped train clerics, paladins, as well as the general population on various matters pertaining to the above little subclasses. As a general rule of thumb, a symbol of your god, goddess, or deity is meant to stay on your person at all times, so they can keep an eye on their followers in case they need help. But it also functions as a magical focus. If you don't have that on you, you can't use magic. Desecrating is an action that will definitely piss off whatever you're worshipping, and putting it down so they can't see your actions is like spitting in the face of the beliefs you swore yourself to. So a very good way to piss them off. Like I said, deeply religious tones that were taken pretty seriously. Religious symbols and small trinkets being used as like a focus of some kind to like cast spells from. That's actually really cool. In my campaigns that I've been playing as a player in, we have a little bit of a loose system when it comes to like material components and different focuses, as long as you have something that belongs off your deity. For me, I have the Whip of the Succubus, my patron. Basically, I got packed to the blade because I thought it'd be really cool, and for my weapon I thought, you know, it would be very fitting to go for a whip, because, you know, succubi and whips, it kind of seems to go hand in hand together. But I'm assuming the reason this is explained is because the player, Bastard, is about to do something like a big no-no for the gods or something. Bastard decided to completely derail the party by making a loud, obnoxious entrance into the tavern the rest of the party was staying at, and when not receiving too kindly, was tricked by the bartender along with another player into drinking a potion that caused various random effects. Throw blood from Kobold Press Book Vault of Magic. Bastard got one that essentially rendered the character temporarily mute by disfiguring their jaw. The other player got extremely sick and had to take a few points of poison damage per round, which I was timing out until the effect ended. Okay, hold on 1 second. Whoa, hold on. Let's listen. If a player is being loud and everything, that's whatever, right? It's fine, it's okay. But like, DM, is that a little bit drastic to basically be like, hey, welcome to our tavern, here's a new brew on the house. Oh, wait a minute, it's the one that literally disfigured your jaw so you can't talk anymore. Wowie wow. That's a little bit mean, DM. I mean, maybe there was a reasoning for it, maybe there was more context for it, but okay, hold on a sec. Not everybody in these RPG horror stories are gonna be immediately just blaming just the problem player. The problem player can still be a bad actor, bad faith actor in these sort of situations. However, if the DM is using in-game elements to try to maim or take away the ability for the player to speak because they're being obnoxious, I mean, the only thing you have to do is be like, hey, Mike, just stop. If the fire is already burning, why throw a powder keg into it, you know? That's basically my point of view. Maybe there was a reason for it, maybe there was some sort of canonical story reason, maybe there's more for the context they'll explain further in the story, I don't know. But for now, it just looks like the DM is seeing a fire and tossing more wood into the fire, kind of, you know? During this time that Bastard's character was muted, the other players were trying to convince them, character to character, to help them on their quest of finding clues around the town about a man that was kidnapped and the various corruptive beasts that were about threatening the place soon after. Bastard suddenly decides, fuck that, I guessed. Again, I had no clarification on what the hell they were thinking or doing, they just did it, and decides to strip themselves of their armor, and weapons. That includes the feather amulet that acted as a conduit for their goddess. I'm okay with nudity, but not public nudity. Gross. Bastard then decided to distract the party from their quest completely. Their shenanigans have caused complete derailment before, and there are a lot of them that aren't being mentioned because this would be too long then, by running into a woods near town that was absolutely teeming with monsters that rated from CR1 all the way to CR6. This is a party of 4 level 5 players on a realism gritty rules campaign. Exhaustion was a thing, thirst and food had to be kept up with daily, baths had to be had if battles got gruesome enough to warrant them, otherwise there was a charisma penalty. This was a very hardcore campaign, and Bastard was explicitly told from this from session 0 and onwards. The other players had to stop everything they were doing to try to rescue them, all during a time-sensitive quest. In my campaign, the world does not stop reacting to things. Everything has long-reaching consequences, and I'm not one to shy away from whatever they may be. Bastard ran to a small group of water horses, essentially kelpies, but even though were like stereotypical merman guards or something, but more feral. Bastard decided to instigate a fight, interrupting me constantly every time I try to detail the environment, the enemies, the behavior of things around them, including the enemies' behaviors, and why they might be reacting to their presence at all. The rest of the party came and then noticed the fact that the largest and small herd was the main one fighting and winning, while the other members were trying to quietly disengage and take away their foes from battleground. A hardcore setting like this sounds kind of fun. I mean, very challenging and probably going to be a little bit tiring afterwards, but I mean, it sounds pretty fun. And as long as the DM talked with the player at session 0 about it, then I think it's all good. But the fact that this idiot is just running off and just doing whatever, and also interrupting DM's flavor text of the environment as they're trying to describe. Listen, like, okay, yeah, I get it. Players have talking priority, sure, they have the talking stick. But like, if the DM is trying to at least give you a description of theater of mind of what you're seeing, what you're hearing, what you envisioning in front of you, right? Just trying to detail things out, let them. Sometimes flavor text is very important to immerse the players. And this idiot, this bastard, he's just running in doing whatever. God, he's so inconsiderate. The water horse got defeated, and immediately Bastard decides it's a good idea to run around randomly through the woods while on only 12 HP. The other players are sitting around feeling terrible for being forced to kill what was found out to be the head stallion in the herd of mares with foals, and while they couldn't speak to each other, they did their best and gave up their very large shell of a monster they had defeated earlier to the mares, so they could have their foals protected while they're in the more watery form. They thankfully got the gist of it and allowed the party to keep the special arrow that once belonged to the leader, since they believed in making material trophies of those faced in fair combat. All the while this is happening, the main party eventually hears the sounds of ravens that infest the cursed forest. As a whole starts going nuts. They started to dive bomb the party, and Bastard, since Bastard was trying to escape the woods in a way, the ravens took exception to that and the party's presence, and the forest curse kicked in, attempting to keep the party inside of itself for them to feed on the carrion later. Bastard finds himself getting physically packed and picked apart, being literally picked up about 20 feet off the ground by the giant swarm of ravens, on only 6 HP by then. The party caught up to Bastard and attempted to rescue them, but Bastard decided to take care of the crows themselves and fell, taking the rest of the damage and fall damage. The party did its best to stabilize them, but by then Bastard decided to once again start ignoring everyone and misconstruing what they were saying, to the point that they all admittedly got frustrated with being constantly interrupted, not listened to, then confusing us that we decided to end the session there. Listen, it sounds like the player is not compatible with the rest of the party. You honestly should have booted them. I'm assuming the DM is just trying to give them the benefit of the doubt, but at some point you're giving them so much benefit of the doubt, it becomes detrimental to the rest of the party, and then nobody else can enjoy themselves. I had to pull Bastard aside for the millionth time. I offered an ultimatum, because there's a way to come back from death if they side with another god. Because he had betrayed his goddess earlier and she wasn't going to give him a third chance after such a horrid error. Wait, so he's not even getting a second chance, he's getting a third chance? Huh? I try to mention how their characters' actions fall more in line with the new god. The things they want to do with their character was still possible. Try to make their lawful good character that was being played more like chaotic evil or neutral at best a chance to fit in a better and be tried more into the campaign. They weren't having it and just said, I guess I'll die and make a new character, shrug emoji. Wait, Bastard is considered a lawful good running around naked? Huh? I was absolutely fed up and done with giving them chances, so I've simply resigned not to contact them about future campaigns or letting them back into my games, if everything anyone was saying was even going to be listened to or respected. Everything from illegally robbing from dead bodies, taking trophy kills of sentient creatures, so fucking illegal in the campaign's world that there's a black market for such material, and paperwork laws regarding collection of draconic material as well, so it's a very big no-no. Completely ignoring NPCs and character emotions so as to try and forcibly get their way. Fudging rolls so they suddenly go from rolling 2 to 13s, so suddenly rolling 16 and 20s or only rolling 1 and 3s for long stretches of time. Constantly ignoring environmental things, and God forbid a female NPC tries to talk to them, they'll flirt with their own goddess when their character was only 16. The argument about wanting their character to have a super dark full fur mane at 13 because the full-on male lion testosterone, and me refusing to let them have it. Not to mention other female and elderly NPCs specifically would almost always be not listened to or ignored completely what they were saying. I'm a female DM, so it was extremely frustrating for me to watch and listen to this go on. I hadn't ever kicked out a player from one of my campaigns before, but by the gods, they were insufferable. The rest of the party was suffering due to Bastard's action, and it was making the game miserable while they were there. I'm now just glad that they're gone from my games. And DM, let there be a learning lesson to kick people out for disrupting the campaign. If they're misunderstanding things or they don't know what's going on, they need a little bit of help, that's one thing. While Bastard is straight up being disruptive and ruining everyone's time, including your own DM, quit having Bastard waste players' time and your own time and just get him out sooner. That's all it is. I mean, DM already understands the mistake they made and stuff. They understood that the person was insufferable, so they just got him out. Better late than never, but it's a learning lesson. It's a learning lesson to know to look out for these sort of people and to remove them out of the game early before they ruin everyone's fun. And with that, that's going to be all our stories for today. I want to thank you very much for watching, and thanks so much for being here. If you like what I do, consider subscribing to the channel and leaving a like. Also, if the RPG Horror Stories ever goes down, or if you want to submit your own personalized horror story, email is down in the description below. I'll see you again in more Tales tomorrow. Bye-bye.